Hi everybody, welcome back to another edition of Miss Nick's Math Lab. We are still working through our first unit, which is place value. We've got a couple little tricks and reminders to help make sure that you are acing those place value tests and questions that we do in class and homework, etc. Now today we are just going to be focusing a little bit more on expanded form. We've already talked about expanded form, so you know what the basics of it is. So today we are basically expanding our knowledge of expanded form to make sure that we really have mastered it. So on a test, you might see an example of expanded form that uses double digits to describe the number of ones, tens, hundreds, or thousands we might have. When that happens, it changes up the value of our numbers a little bit. So the following steps are the steps that I want you to follow to make sure you don't let those changes trick you, okay? So let's pretend we have a question that's asking us to find the base 10 numerals or the standard form of the following number. 5 thousands, 12 hundreds, 8 tens, and 2 ones. So you might look at this and say, oh, that's easy peasy. 5,000, 12, 8, 2. But is that a number we've learned? Not quite. So when we see one like this, even if it looks like it's something that we can answer off the top of our head without writing it down, we're still going to write it down so that we don't let it trick us. And when we write it down, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to take each of our place values one chunk at a time. Remember we talked about those bite-sized chunks. We don't want to choke on it. We want to bite it off in little pieces. So we're going to take one chunk at a time. 5 thousandths. That's my first step. So I'm going to write that in value form. Now class, what is the value of 5 thousandths? Who can raise their hand and tell me what the value of having 5 thousandths would be?
5,000.
5,000. So I'm going to write that as 5,000. So far so good? So far so good. Next, I have 12 hundredths. What is the value of 12 hundredths? Now you might be a little confused, so I'm going to show you the trick that my students have been using. It's called our hangman trick. The same way that you would put little lines for your letters in hangman, we're going to do the same for our place values. So we're going up to 12 hundredths. So we need to start with our ones, tens, hundreds, and we're going to put a space for thousands just in case. Now we fill in the blanks. 12 hundredths doesn't say anything about tens or ones. So 0 tens, 0 ones. Now I have 12 hundreds left, so I put the 2 here, and the 1, because it's double digits, gets bumped over to the thousands place. So 12 hundreds is actually 1,200. When I write it out this way, it makes it a little more obvious. So 5 thousandths plus 1,200 plus 8 tens. What is the value of 8 tens? 80. And last but not least, my ones, there's only 2 of them, so 2 ones. Now, I have a beautiful addition problem. Now we know how to solve this and bring it home. So we just have to add up each place value one at a time, and we get our final answer. 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. 0 plus 0 plus 8 is 8. 0 plus 2 is 2. 5 plus 1 is 6. So if I had asked you, please do me the favor of writing this expanded form in base 10 numerals, then this 6,282 is the answer you should have gotten. Now, I want you to reflect back on what we just talked about. If it's still confusing you, the beauty is you can go ahead and press rewind and watch it one more time. If you're not so sure, then we're going to do one more example to make sure that it really makes sense before we wrap up for the day. So, one last example. Let's say that we are given a similar problem. This time they told us they had 13 thousandths, 5 hundredths, 12 tens, and 8 ones. Now again, I want to chunk it into bite-sized pieces. So I'm going to take one section at a time. 13 thousandths. I'm going to start ones, tens, hundreds, 1,000s, 10,000s, 100,000s. 13 thousandths is going to start in the thousandths place. So I can put zeros for everything that comes after it. Thousand starts here, so the 3 goes there, but it's double digits. So that means this 1 is bumped over into the 10 thousandths column. So 13 thousandths would be written like this. Next is 500ths. So I go ones, tens, hundreds, and I put a 5 in the hundreds place value. So far, so good. 12 tens. Here's our trick, hangman style, ones, tens, hundreds. There are 2 digits for our tens. So that means I put the second digit in the tens place and the first digit goes in the hundreds. Because 12 tens is really equal to 120. Last but not least, 8 ones. So if I add this all together, I get 8, 2, 6, 3, 1. 13,628. Hopefully this helps clarify a little bit of any confusion that you might have for expanded form. Keep checking back because we're going to keep digging deeper into some of these specific topics like rounding and comparing our numbers. And pretty soon we're going to be digging into our multiplying and dividing. So check back soon. You never know when we're going to be updating the page. And as always, if you have any questions at all, ask your math teacher. Have a great afternoon. Bye.